So similar to Illustrator and Photoshop, when you open up InDesign, it brings you to a page like this to be able to choose from different settings. So we can kind of see it here. It's giving us different settings with more presets. And once again, you could choose which formats you want to use, web, print, and all of that. So why don't we start with print, okay? So I'm going to just choose a letter size, a regular size. Typically, that's like a book or magazine type of size. However, instead of picas, I'm going to use inches. Okay, so now with InDesign, just letting you know this area here that says facing pages. So what that means is basically if you're creating a book or if you're creating a magazine that you can flip pages, that's when you would check off facing pages. But I'm going to check it off just to show you what it looks like, okay? For now, maybe I don't know how many pages I need, so I'm going to just leave it at 1 because I can always add more pages. Also, if I scroll down, I can also see my margins here. So instead of in Illustrator, how we had to drag guides, I don't have to do that here. I can actually add a margin. So a typical margin for this size page, letter size, I would type in 0.125 all the way around for my margins. And as we know, the bleeds should always be, doesn't matter the size, 0.125 tab. Okay. Slug, we're not going to worry about. And that tends to be an area that is an additional area where you actually put notes for a printer. It doesn't actually print. It's just notes for a printer to read through. We're going to leave that blank. We're going to create. Go into Workspace and choose Essentials Classic. So what you're seeing here is your workspace once again. Once again, you have options to go into InDesign, your preferences. You can change your interface if you needed to. Again, the colors are here. Typically, I leave this except for one area, and that is grids. I always uncheck this because when I turn on my grids and I start adding objects and pictures and things, I want to be able to see my grids on top of everything so that I could make sure that I'm aligning everything. So I'm going to uncheck this, and I would advise that you do that as well. So I'm going to press OK. On your left side, you're going to see a toolbar like every other application. You can click on the double arrows at the top to expand and make this a shorter 2 columns as opposed to 1. And on your right side, you will see a couple menus or panels here that are used the most. So I have my pages. So this is my pages panel. I can see I only have 1 page in my document. However, if I add more pages, this is the plus sign. I can add more pages. Now, we checked off facing pages. This would typically be page 1, inside, cover, and ongoing. Okay, that's what facing pages is. Now, if you're not creating a document that has pages like this, then make sure to uncheck facing pages when you start. Okay, so that is how this works, and I can extend this menu as well. We also have a layers panel, which we can use. So once we start placing images, text, and all of that, we can make sure that they're on separate layers. We can double click and name the layers as well. So I'm going to cancel that. Links is basically where basically when you bring in an image, it will show up in this panel, everything that you're linked to. Sometimes it will give you an exclamation mark. And what that means is that you're missing an image. And that typically happens, let's say you move your image. So you brought it in at one point, but then all of a sudden you move the image somewhere else. It can no longer find it or read it. So you would have to relink it to that image. Then you have your strokes, if you want to add strokes to maybe specific portions of your boxes, your frames. You also have your colors and your swatch panel. Okay, so that's how this typically works. These are the typical panels that you would use most. When I click on any of these tools, as you can see, just like Photoshop this time, the application bar at the top changes. Okay, so as you can see, my type tool now gives me all the type options. Now the type tool has two menus, okay? Character formatting controls is the A. So everything that the font size, the actual fonts itself that you can choose from. You also have different options here that we can look at later. You also have the alignment, so align left, center, all of that here. And also in the next one, this is character formatting, then we have paragraph formatting control. So you also have these options here. This also gives you a bit of indent, so left indent, first line indent options as well. So this is a little more advanced when you're working in InDesign. We're going to do the basic stuff. However, there is one area at the far right that says hyphenate. So we did talk about this very briefly in typography theory, where hyphens, we have to remove hyphens. So meaning anything that breaks unnaturally, not a natural word that has a hyphen, but unnatural breaks, we would uncheck this and make sure that we don't have the hyphens, okay? In the pages panel, you also have the options. Now, when I'm adding pages, it's adding everything vertically, and I could change the way that this looks by going right-clicking on my pages. So if I right-click on any, it doesn't matter which one, I can go to the bottom of this menu and choose horizontally if I needed to, okay? So that's in view pages vertically or horizontally. You also have your rulers at the top. As you can see, these are in inches because we chose inches. But right in the corner where it intersects both of the rulers, if I right click here, I can also change my units if I needed to, but I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And if I go to File, Document Setup, this is what I actually set up when I created my file. But if I needed to, in case I accidentally forgot to remove facing pages and I didn't need to create a magazine, I would just uncheck it, press OK. And now it's all single pages. So that was in File, Document Setup. Once again, I can open and close these. I can pull these out as well. I can adjust these, put them, snap them back in. If I needed to delete pages, I would just select the pages. I can hold down my Shift key. So basically, if I select one, I can click the trash can right at the bottom of the Pages panel. If I select and hold my Shift key, I can select multiple pages and delete them. So I can add or I can delete. Okay. I could also see that my bleed, I created a bleed. It has the red margin line in case we're going to create a design that has a bleed. And this is our safety area. So our margins that we want to make sure our text does not go over. Sometimes images go over, that's fine, but it's mainly for the text not to go over.